What is going on, guys? Today I bring you round 6 of Torneio Internacional de Famalicão. This round I got paired down. I got paired up against José Silva, 1450 rated player. And, let's see how the game went. This game actually had some huge drama that near the end. So, uh, let's start. So, I had the white pieces. I started with d4. My opponent went knight f6, and I went bishop g5. Already, I can't really explain why I decided to go for this opening approach. As I've said in previous videos, my idea was just to play, for this tournament, was to play knight f3, g3, bishop g2 castles, and go from there. But yeah, I don't know. I just decided to play this. I don't remember quite why. Maybe I was sort of afraid that he prepared something against that setup of mine, because I did play on the DGT boards, and the games were my game against the international master was transmitted, so it was on the internet, and maybe he could have prepared something against that, but yeah, maybe just the usual paranoia. But okay, I still had prepared some lines against the in the Trombovsky. So let's see. My opponent went for 94, which is one of the most challenging options for sure, attacking the bishop immediately. And here I went for the raptor variation with h4, which also is very aggressive and can lead to very sharp and interesting positions. So my opponent here went for d5. Okay, doesn't want to take my bishop. I go knight d2, and here my opponent goes bishop f5. And this line, I kind of knew that should take on e4. Although, I mean, there's a lot of ways to play. You can play e3 as well. Uh, can just develop the knight. But what I knew and what I was prepared to do here was to take. And here, after bishop takes, which was what I was hoping for, I would play something like f3, and it would be a very interesting and sharp position for sure. But here my opponent surprised me already with d takes on e4, kind of just taking with the pawn and doubling his own pawns. Kind of weird move. And yeah, here I was out of any preparation. I never thought that my opponents would play like this, so I just decided to play some natural moves. So I played e3, nice move. And here my opponent played queen d7, which I think is a nice move, because I was threatening to play g4 and to kick this bishop away. Okay, now I can't go g4 just yet, so I go bishop f4. Yeah, I did this prophylactic move because I was also kind of preparing against ideas with f6, e5. So yeah, I just played bishop f4 to not get it with any h6 or f6 with tempo. Here my opponent played h5. Okay, chill move. Just, gaining some space on the king side as well. Here I played c3, so going for this triangle formation like you see in a lot of Londons and this type of positions. My opponent went e6, and here I went queen b3, and I thought I was so smart because now I'm attacking b7, I'm developing my queen, and yeah. But after playing b3, queen b3, my opponent thought for a while. Yeah, here my opponent played a logical move, which is c6. And yeah, I mean, engine doesn't like it. Thinks it's a bad move, but makes sense, wants to protect b7, although this knight now looks kind of like very sad because the only square that he has is knight e6. So yeah, I was feeling good to see c6 on the board for sure. Here I play f3, and this f3 move might be a little bit too soon to be played. Yeah, Engine prefers like something like knight e2, going for knight g3, and developing that way. But I was like, I thought that I needed to make something happen fast in order to get attacking chances, and I just wanted to complicate the position as much as I could, because I was trying to just play for a win and blow my opponent off the board. So yeah, f3 here. My opponent ignores the pawn, plays bishop e7, probably trying to just finish his development. Here I go bishop e2. My opponent was kind of spending some precious time for sure. Here my opponent plays a5. I think it's a good move to gain space on the queen side and develop the knight behind the pawn. So yeah, a5 is a nice move. Also discourages me from playing queenside castle, because my queenside might be weak and my king might be weak in that case. But okay, here I just play a4 to stop any advances. He plays knight a6, developing his knight finally. And here I take on e4, takes back with the bishop, and I play knight f3. And I thought, okay, I mean, I should be at least a little bit better here. I thought my pieces were more active than his and better placed. But here my opponent actually found a very nice sort of combination, you can say. He played, after thinking for a while, so credit to him, he played bishop d5 here. And this looks kind of weird, because maybe I can just play c4, which is actually the best move in the position. But I didn't like c4, because after something like bishop takes on f3, bishop takes on f3, knight b4 could be annoying to get like such a strong knight here. So I didn't want to play that. I played queen c2 back, and now my opponent takes on f3. I take back with the bishop, and he plays bishop d6. Why is this actually a very smart idea by my opponent to play bishop d5, intermediate move? The reason is that after knight f3, if he took immediately on f3, now he can't play bishop d6, because if he played bishop d6, we would trade and I would win a pawn. So my opponent forced me to leave this b file, and then he took the pawn. So very smart by my opponent, very well played, for sure. Here after bishop d6, I had a long think, because I was kind of annoyed because a lot of pieces were coming off the board, and kind of lowers my chances of creating complications and gaining an advantage. And here I couldn't really come up with a move that made me satisfied, I just played queen e2. I really couldn't tell what I should do in this position, so I just played a sort of wedding move, I guess. Not so much wedding. I'm also attacking a pawn on h5, so yeah, I guess this move makes some sense. Queen e2. Here my pawn took on f4. Immediately I took back with e pawn, and my opponent attacked the pawn on f4 with queen d6. And here, I had to make a decision, kind of an important decision. I play g3, or do I defend this pawn in another way, or do I just ignore the pawn? I mean, in the game, I ended up playing queen e5, but interesting would have been to play maybe castles, because this pawn can't be taken immediately because of the capture on c6 with check. But yeah, I just decided to go for queen e5 here. My pawn took. I took back with the f-pawn, and we reached this endgame, which I thought that if someone was better, it could only be me. I thought that my bishop was better than this knight. My pawn formation is amazing here with 4 connected pawns. And yeah, I thought that I had a lot of chances here to outplay my opponent, but it didn't turn out to be that easy. After f takes on e5, my opponent played king e7. I castled queenside to connect the rooks this way. My opponent played knight c7, and now he probably wants to plant the knight on d5. And here I make a decision that I kind of regret looking back at it. I played c4, and although this stops knight d5 forever, it also weakens this b4 square forever, and I will never be able to take the knight off this square. So I think this c4 move was a very immature and rash decision by me. Yeah, I shouldn't have allowed it for sure. My opponent played rook a8. I played king c2, and my opponent correctly immediately tries to exploit my c4 move. Here I play king c3 to kind of, bring my king closer to the center, and also to just protect the queen side. After knight b4 here by my opponent, good move. I played rook e1, and I kind of wanted to, my plan was to at some point break with d5, but it's not as easy as it looks, and my opponent also has counterplay of his own, and he showed that counterplay immediately with rook h g8, a good move, basically threatening to play g5 and open files for his rooks. And all of a sudden, this bishop kind of looks dumb, and this knight looks like a monster. And my rooks also are looking at my own pawns, so it kind of becomes tricky. But here I thought for a long while actually to try to deal with this g5 threat, and I found a cute move in my opinion, rook f1. And yeah, the point is that now if my opponent plays g5, I can take on h5, and I'm also threatening the pawn on f7. So yeah, my opponent didn't play g5, of course. He played rook back to h8. I saw this move as a silent draw offer, pretty much trying to maybe see if I want to repeat moves, but as I said, I wasn't really interested in a draw, and I kept on playing with rook d2. My opponent played b6, and I doubled on the d file. And okay, now it's like the d5 like break starts to become possible at some point. Now it's looking good. My rooks are well positioned. My opponent played c5, which I thought had to be a bad move, because now I get d5 and I get the break that I always wanted. But yeah, my opponent simply, after d5, simply plays rook h6, which kind of surprised me. Yeah, I didn't really understand this move. Like, what is he doing? I quickly played d6 check, which is a bad move. And you'll see why in a second. Yeah, computer here says that I have some advantage if I play rook e1 or b3, but like those moves aren't doing much. So I guess yeah, the computer just wanted me to hold the position as it is, but I was trying to get something so desperately, and yeah, I couldn't pass on the opportunity of getting a passed pawn. But here the problem with this d6 move is that now my opponent easily just sits his king on d7, and it's not easy to just get this king off d7, because the knight is controlling a6 and c6. So yeah, this knight is completely dominating this bishop, unfortunately for me. But yeah, after king d7, I just played rook e2. I didn't really know what to do. I just knew that my rooks probably weren't doing much on the d file anymore. My opponent plays rook g8, a nice move, preparing for g5. I played rook e1. I started drifting here. You know, I was panicking a bit because all of a sudden I have no initiative, I have no active plans, and I'm just basically sitting to see what my opponent will try to do. My opponent plays g5 here, and I play g3, and like here the computer says that I'm significantly worse after something like f6 or f5, but my opponent took on h4 and attacked my pinned bishop. But I saw this in calculation. I just played rook e3, and here I was hoping for my opponent to not defend this rook, because I'm kind of threatening bishop c6 check. But my opponent saw it, and he played rook g6, which drops a pawn temporarily after bishop takes on h6. But here my opponent trades and plays rook h6, and I was kind of surprised that my opponent was actually coming up with these very good moves. Honestly, and he was playing way better than what I was expecting. Here I just take the pawn on f7, he takes the pawn on h4, and we get this endgame where, yeah, surprisingly, even though I'm up a pawn, the computer says that I am pretty much worse, and I'm the one who's fighting for a draw. Kind of crazy. Here I just played bishop g6, and yeah, apparently the only move to fight for an advantage for black here is knight c6. Yeah, kind of hard to understand why this move is the only move that keeps the advantage, but okay. My opponent plays rook g4. Seems logical, attacking the bishop. I play bishop e4. Is rook g5, attacking the pawn on e5. And here I play bishop b7. I was trying to think of plans to win this. Maybe a plan could be to bring my rook around and try to kick this king from d7. My opponent plays rook h5, and the problem here is that I can't really do that thing that I want, which is to just infiltrate, because this pawn is always hanging if I move the rook off the e-file. So yeah, it's kind of sad. Here after rook h5 I played bishop f3, attacking his rook, and after rook f5 I played bishop d1, and here comes the drama. I have the position on this chess board, and I don't know if you guys can see the pieces well. Probably not. But here my opponent did this. He grabbed his rook and he placed it here. He placed it here on h5. So he did this basically. Played it on h5, and then he immediately took the move back. He picked up the rook again and put it on g5. So pretty much what he did was this. The rook was here on f5. He picked up the rook. He put it on h5, and then he picked it up again immediately and put it on g5. And this, my friends, is illegal. This is pretty much illegal. You shouldn't do. And I looked at him like, I was like, are you serious? Like, I was like, dude, you dropped the piece on that square. And he was like, oh no, but I picked it up immediately and I put it on g5. And I was like, bro, it doesn't matter. You dropped the piece. And he was like, you want to call the arbiter? And of course I want to call the arbiter, bro. The arbiter was just right there, like literally. And I just look at, bro, yo, arbiter, come here, come here. He's like, what happened? And I was like explaining. So, pretty much my opponent picked up the rook on f5, and he literally dropped it on h5 and immediately moved uh, back to g5 when he saw that the bishop was attacking through. And the arbiter was like, is this true? And it was like, my opponent was like, yes, but yeah, I immediately, it was like alpha second. He was so nervous saying, oh, I just dropped it for alpha second. I was like, doesn't matter if it's alpha second or not. Like, you touch the piece, you have to move the piece. You drop it in a square, you have to play the piece to that exact square. And the arbiter was like, no, actually, blah blah blah. He was saying like something like totally that didn't make any sense to the position. It's like, if it's check and it's the only move that the king has, blah blah blah, he has to be that move. If you only have one move after the check, blah blah blah. And I was like, there's no check here though. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is not a check. And he's like, oh, if it's not a check, he can he doesn't have to play there. He can play to whatever square he wants to. Okay, he touched the piece, he has to move that piece. But if he drops the piece in a square, he doesn't have to play the piece to that square. And I was like, what? Really? And I was like, yes. And I was like, bro. And I was like trolling the arbiter because I was like, bro, you're literally telling me that my opponent can pick up this bishop right here and just move the bishop around this diagonal. Can just move this bishop around this diagonal. I literally told him this. Like, you can move the bishop around the diagonal, so okay. I drop it here, and after that I drop it here, and I'm just playing with the bishop and putting it in all the squares of the diagonal. And this is not illegal, you can do this. Like, this is literally ridiculous, right? And he says, yes, you can do that. And I was like, what? So basically, you're telling me that in an over the board game, you can just play around with your bishop like a child. You can put the bishop on e2, f3, g4, and you can just like move your bishop back and forth while you're thinking. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And yeah, I mean, the arbiter was like, yeah, that's the rules. That's how it is. Your opponent doesn't have to move the rook to h5, blah, blah. And I was like, I can't believe it. I was like shocked. And yeah, I could have called the chief arbiter, which was in another room. But the thing is that I wasn't 100% sure about the rules, so I didn't want to make uh pretty much, you know, the next day he comes to me while I was playing and he tells me, you know what, you were kind of right. He had to play the rook on h5. That's the rules. You were right. I was wrong. Sorry. And I was like, oh my god, this goddamn imbecile. Oh my god, oh my god, I just got robbed. And I was like, so pissed, bro. And he tells me this right before the game to even make things worse, bro. Like, that's crazy. Like, I was so pissed. And I talked to a lot of players after this game about, what do you think of this rule? Do you know this rule? Do you think he has to move the rook to h5 or not? And everyone was like, oh, he doesn't have to move the rook to h5. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. And like, no one knew this rule. Like, what the heck? Like, I saw a lot of videos on YouTube of like players like Carlsen, Nakamura, touching a piece, putting it on a square, and immediately, moving it to another square because they realize it's a blunder, and they get punished. They have to move the piece to that square, and they normally just resign. Um, so here, of course, I would have won if we followed the correct rules because it just gave me a rook, right? But unfortunately, I got robbed, and the game kept going on with rook g5. I was super tilted at this point, as you guys can understand. I was super, super, super angry and agitated. Here, after rook g5, I play king d2, and my opponent actually just finds a move that punishes all the moves that I've been making. which is knight c6, and all of a sudden, like, I didn't even realize that he could play this move back to c6, because he was playing so passively throughout the game, and now he's making a threat, and like, I'm like, what the fuck? I can't believe that I'm still gonna lose. I was like, I can't believe that I'm gonna end up losing this fucking game and getting robbed. Like, this is not real life, bro. And here, of course, I can't defend the pawn on e5, so the pawn on e5 is dropping, and I come up with rook h3 to try to create counterplay. He takes on e5 with the rook, and now I give a check on h7, picks up the pawn on d6. Now he's the one up a pawn, kind of ridiculous. I play queen rook b7 though, which is a nice move that pretty much wins the pawn back by force. There's no way for my opponent to defend b6. Plays rook f5, I take on b6, and he plays king c7, attacking my rook. I go rook b5, and okay, I'm putting pressure on a5, I'm putting pressure on c5, so I'm doing fine. Here he brings the king back to d6. I go king e3. It goes rook e5 check. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know, like, if I should bring the king to a passive square, or if I should just run the king up the board somehow. I decided to be more active with king f4. He gave a check on f5. I went back to e4. At this point, I'm kind of okay with a draw, because I like, if anyone is better, it's probably him, because his knight is way better than my bishop. My bishop can't really attack any of his pawns here. He got a passed pawn here, so yeah, I mean, my position is very bad here. He plays rook f8. I play rook b6, and here he plays rook b8, and we agree to a draw. I don't know if he asked me for a draw, or if it was me after trading the rooks, but yeah, we agreed to a draw. And I mean, oh my god, I was so pissed. I can't remember being so angry and pissed after a chess game. This was ridiculous. Yeah, I ended up getting robbed, and it is what it is. I mean, of course, I'm never gonna let someone rob me the same way. No way. If anything like this happens, bro, I'm calling the every arbiter in the world to come to my board and to goddamn give me justice, because this is ridiculous, but yeah, it is what it is. Nothing I can do. And yeah, I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck? Man, Jesus Christ, these arbiters, man, can't do their job. Jesus, can't even. I'm gonna stop talking, because I'm just venting at this point. But yeah, this was the game we ended up drawing. Kind of crazy one. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.